what I want to know is, for example, in relation to rosters, do you have, and have you considered having, a direct power just to enforce rostering and say to bus companies, this is the safe way to roster bus drivers based on, for example, the railway industry or the airline industry? Do you have the power to do that? Would you like the power to do that? Because it feels a bit like you ask them nicely, and maybe they do and maybe they don't, and if they don't, we all just sit here talking about it, and drivers are still driving fatigued.
So I think that, does TfL want a direct power to...
Or do you have it, and if you don't have it, would you like it?
So, so I would have to ask the director of buses whether she would want that direct power. From a safety point of view, I feel that we, through the dialogue and the way we set conditions for the bus operations, we have a productive and really fruitful way of actually setting out the outcomes we want. So I don't think that, for me, and that I would be clear that actually just directing rosters is necessarily the best way of getting the outcome that we want. I mean, you might think I'm sort of evading the question, but the issue about managing fatigue is much broader than just rosters. It's about the whole safety culture within the organisation. It's about the openness for people, which I believe we are working with operators to do, to say that if they do arrive fatigued, that they don't drive and they have a safe and open culture. And that can happen with different, that isn't just down to the rosters, that's due to what I'm saying, to a lot of different factors. So I don't actually know if the director of bus operators would like to direct rosters, but I think that we can achieve the safety outcomes that we need, and we have shown really good progress in terms of driving improvements in safety from buses in London. Clearly, and it's really important that you get the different evidence that you have, there's more to do.
Yes, I mean, that's the evidence that we had from Lorraine at the last meeting here was that essentially flatly contradicted what you've just said. And what I should probably also add is that subsequently other bus drivers have come forward anonymously, and not just anonymously, but insisting that we don't reveal anything about them, because precisely because the culture is exactly not what you've just said. The culture is one of fear that if anybody raises safety concerns, in the scenario that my colleague brought up, where somebody feels fatigued, they don't feel competent to drive, they don't feel rested enough to drive a bus for a full shift. They feel very clear, those drivers, more than one driver, not just Lorraine, and more than one besides Lorraine, felt very clear that the culture was absolutely 80 degrees the opposite of what you've said. And so what I'm sitting here thinking is that yet again we have a scenario where here, at the level that we're having this conversation, everything is lovely and you think you're having these productive conversations, and the drivers actually doing the job think that it isn't happening. And so somewhere between here and the bus cab, the message isn't getting through. And so I come back to my question, who exactly is responsible for the fact that the message isn't getting through?